Hello, my name is Latanya Stripling, and today we're going to cover a medical insurance policy. So, I'm going to ask you all a question first. By the show of hands, who ever thought that Medicare and Medicaid was the same thing? Just raise your hand. Most people, right? I did too until we got into it, but in all honesty, Medicare and Medicaid, they are two different policies. So, today we're going to talk about Medicare. What is Medicare? Medicare is the federal health insurance program for people who are 65 years or older. Certain younger people with a disability, for example, end-stage renal diseases, requiring dialysis or anything like that, they qualify for Medicaid. But for the most part, it's people who are 65 years or older. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information on Medicare and how it all began. So Medicare was the original name given to a program providing medical care for families of individuals serving in the military as part of the Dependents Medical Care Act passed in 1956. In July 1965, President Lyndon Johnson, Congress enacted Medicare under the Title 12 of the Social Security Act to provide health insurance to people aged 65 and older, regardless of their income or medical history. President Johnson signed the bill into law on July 30th, 1965. So we're going to continue with a little bit of background information on Medicare. So in 1965, the provisions of Medicare expanded. So they included speech, benefits for physical and chiropractic. In the 1980s, Congress expanded Medicare eligibility to younger people who had permanent disabilities. So that goes back to what I said, when younger people who are suffering for any kind of disability requiring like dialysis or something, they was eligible in the 1980s to receive Medicare. So in 1997, President Clinton formalized Part C of the Medicare. So a little further in this presentation, I'll talk about all the parts of Medicare. But in 1997, President Clinton formalized Part C. So we'll talk about A, B, and C further on. In 2003, President Bush passed a law for Medicare program to cover almost all drugs. So now, with Medicare, you was able to go get your prescriptions using the Medicare. So it was just like any other insurance, right? You didn't have to pay out of pocket to go get your medicine now. You can use Medicare. So the Medicare breakdown. So Part A covers the hospital insurance. So that's like if you go to the hospital for emergency, most people without insurance, they utilize what? The emergency room, right? So with Medicare, Part A was your hospital visits. And Part B is the medical insurance. So Part B gave you the right to be able to go and see a doctor, your own doctor, right? Your primary doctor, OBGYN, whatever it was, you was able to go to use medical insurance, Medicare as a medical insurance to go to doctor visits. Part C was your health plans. So health plans that was broken down different health plans. And Part D covered many prescriptions. So we talked about that, about President Bush adding Part D, the prescription part of it. So who has access to Medicare? Everyone has access to Medicare if they meet those requirements. So we said that it was 65 and older, right? And then we said that you had to have a permanent disability. So beneficiaries with higher incomes pay a higher premium. So if you're above a certain pay grade and you were older and you had Medicare, then you had to pay a higher premium. But sometimes that's with a lot of insurance companies, right? So 5% had incomes above $93,900. 50% had income below $23,500, and 25% had income below $14,400. The population served. Half of the beneficiaries that received Medicare had incomes below the 200% poverty line, below the poverty line. So most of the people that receive Medicare is what? They low income families, right? Yeah, they income based. Low income based. So 44 million nationwide either had Part A or Part B. So Part A was the hospital visits and Part B was the medical coverage. So mostly receiving coverage because of age eligibility. So mostly likely they was the older generation, right, with the older population because they met the requirements of the age. 7.3 billion was because of a disability. So what changes would I make if I had to change Medicare? I would change the eligibility age. The reason why I chose the eligibility age is because according to a Gallup poll, working Americans expect to retire at age 62 now. So the age has dropped for the people who's retiring, right? So what that means, most people working people who have insurance or medical insurance that can afford it, they get it through their job, right? So if they are retiring at an early age, once you retire, that means you're no longer working. So that means what? Your insurance is cut, right? Everybody with me? So the insurance cut, right? So if they retiring at 62, the insurance getting cut, that means they have to wait 3 years just to get covered by Medicare. And I think that's a long time, especially for someone of that age to go without receiving any kind of medical care. So if I had to change anything, I would change the eligibility rate. And by changing the eligibility rate and dropping it down lower, it would increase the size in enrollment. So it'll make the program a little bit bigger because then more people will have the option of choosing Medicare instead of not having insurance at all. Because just like what we said earlier, if you go back to it, people who don't have any kind of medical insurance, they resort to what? The emergency rooms, right? Because they have no other choice. They don't have medical insurance. They can't go see primary doctors, so they go to the emergency room when something is wrong. So yeah, if I had to change anything, it would be the eligibility age. Who accepts Medicare? Home health agencies, nursing facilities, free clinics, some private-owned practices, and hospitals. So, as you can see, over time, Medicare has broadened because more people is willing to accept this insurance. And that's a good thing. Should other agencies accept Medicare? Absolutely, because if you look at it, it's through the state, right? This insurance is through the state, so it's a guaranteed payment if they eligible and they have Medicare. So the payments are getting paid, so more people should accept Medicare because they know for a fact that they'll get their money. How can we improve Medicare in the future? We can improve Medicare by increasing income eligibility, modernize asset limits, align eligibility criteria across programs, and improve cost sharing protection within the already existing programs. So to conclude, we talked about what Medicare was. We gave a little bit of background information on what it was, who started it, how it all begun, the things that I would change, the improvements that I would make if it was up to me. And honestly, if it was up to me, I would just say that medical should be free altogether. But with Medicare, I think it's a good thing, and I think that it can broaden for more people if they just drop the eligibility rate so that most people can be able to receive it. Any questions? Raise your hand if you have any questions. No questions? Okay, well that concludes